Move on to the issue of gay marriage and the latest ruling about same-sex marriage in California. John King, where are we?
Well, this federal judge has issued a decision that says same-sex marriages can resume next week. Now, those who want those marriages, they were lining up hoping to start them again yesterday. The judge did put a little pause in there to give opponents time to appeal. So the next step now is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out in San Francisco, which we will see in the next week whether they step in. Otherwise, these marriages can resume next Thursday.
So what are the possibilities here if the appeals court tosses it? Will this possibly go to the Supreme Court?
I think there's no question this issue is coming to the Supreme Court in the next year or so. Whether it is this specific case that makes it first, it appears to be now. It is the case highest up in the appeal system. But this issue is coming to the Supreme Court within the next year without a doubt. And that'll be interesting because you will have two Obama appointees, one who hasn't even taken the bench yet, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor, who in her first term was, I think, predictably left of center, but has not been involved in any cases, at least to my recollection, that you would view as trailblazing, new groundbreaking cases in the law. So this president, remember, opposes same-sex marriage, although he has said if a state wants to do it, that's up to the states. This will be an interesting legal challenge, regardless of what happens in the short term in California.
The assumption is so great that this is coming to the Supreme Court that people have already started gaming out the 9 votes on the court, and they've come down to Anthony Kennedy. And this has been going on actually for quite some while in California, people who have been following the Prop 8 case and the larger issue of gay marriage. So much so that some people believe that when Judge Vaughn Walker, the fellow out in San Francisco who has issued this ruling that has changed the course of this issue, when he wrote his opinion, he was actually borrowing some of the constructions, if not the actual language, of some of the opinions that Anthony Kennedy, the swing justice on the Supreme Court, has used in the past. So in a sense, he was already making a case beyond the appeals court that this will go to next, on beyond that to the ultimate decider, the Supreme Court, and specifically to the swing justice who will make the 5-4 or 4-5 go whichever way.
That's really interesting. I hadn't even heard that myself or noticed that. It's interesting that this is, again, bringing it back to this midterm election year, that this isn't a bigger issue than it is, especially we've lived through past election campaigns, 2004 presidential election year, when same-sex marriage was a big issue, and the White House, the Bush White House, actively promoted it as an issue. The Republican Party committees did. They helped get and encouraged states to put on their ballots referendum on this, and in an effort to bring out more conservative voters, and succeeded pretty well in states like Missouri and Ohio.
So when the judge says we'll just wait until next week, surely you're not going to have couples in California putting on the veils, the tuxedos, whatever, getting married next week and then having those marriages rescinded?
Well, there are about 18,000, I believe, marriages that were done in California before Prop 8 made it illegal, during that period of time when a federal court ruling had made it legal and the time when the Prop 8 came in, or when a court ruling, I should say, had made it legal, and then when the proposition came in and made it illegal. Those 18,000 marriages, as far as the state of California is concerned, still stand. So the people who are going to get married next week, if there's no stay coming from the Court of Appeals, will presumably be as married as those previous couples. Down the road, we'll have to see what happens to that, but it does appear from the jurisprudence up to this case, up to this point, that marriages that are done legally at the time are going to be recognized as legal.
So how long could it take for the Court of Appeals to make its ruling?
Well, one would assume that the Court of Appeals will step in. I mean, obviously they've gone for an instant appeal as quickly as possible in the 6-day period that they have. So the Court of Appeals will have to schedule hearings on the merits of the case, but on the basic decision of do you step up and reverse the lower judge and say, no, we're going to put a stay in place and stop the marriages from resuming, they'll make that decision within the 6-day window, and then you'll have a hearing on the merits of the case. That takes a bit more time.
Right.
That's right. There are a number of people who are just basically practically keeping the champagne cold out there in California, and they were ready to go this past week, and now they're looking forward to next week. And it is possible they will be put on hold for a matter of months until the merits are heard. It's also possible it'll go ahead in the short term.